What's going on, Ravens fans? It's been a very, very rough weekend for all of us. We had a very big, nasty, angry blowhard of a woman come up and give us all the visit. We didn't really want her to. Her name was Irene. She was kind of a tramp and we all hate her. But luckily, she's gone blown off to sea. Just hope everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube they're safe, their families are taken care of, and there's no hardcore damage to any of their properties or housing. I just wish you all the best. But now that well wishes are out of the way, it took me a little while, given the storms and natural disasters, to come with a few good post-game analysis points on the Ravens Redskins game. But better late than never. I figured I should give you a few of those now. First off, outside of one extremely poorly thrown pick six to D'Angelo Hall on the second pass of the game, Joe Flacco looked a hell of a lot better. The offensive line played like crap, so he was running for his life most of the game, but that fade route to Lee Evans in the corner of the end zone was a thing of beauty. Takes me back to the Houston Texans game. I believe it was in year one when Flacco first came onto the scene, where he hit Yaman figures over the safeties and just burned the Houston secondary for a huge, like 40 or 50-yard touchdown pass. It's a thing of beauty. It's just amazing to see some of the touch that Joe really has on the deep balls. The other passes to Dixon and the other pass to Bolden in the end zone. Joe was starting to show this crowd, this fan base, and this entire league that he is an NFL quarterback. I hate to quote Shannon Sharp, as he probably would have said, yes, Joe Flacco is an NFL-ready quarterback. You see, he had the power to throw over the defenses, and he had the power to read over the offense, and he is a true NFL legitimate quarterback, as Shannon would say. I love that guy. He's an awesome. It's good to know he was a Raven. Next, Torrey Smith. The kid's got the speed. From video I've seen, he's got the moves, but he's playing with too much in his head right now. Just two passes he should have caught. They go for drops. He only ends up with about 8 yards in 3 games. I mean, the kid's got talent. He wouldn't be a second-round pick if he wasn't. But right now, he's thinking himself out of the game. Every time you think something good's going to happen, either it's a drop, it's a misread, it's a poorly ran route, he does something to take himself out of this football equation. So I hope he can clear his mind and he can just start going back to doing what made him such a great and legitimate receiver at Maryland, because the Ravens are going to need him to do that in the coming weeks of the NFL football season. Defensively, first teamers played solid. There were some question marks. I mean, the offense didn't help with the pick six to start the game. But just like last year, I'm noticing kind of the 2-minute drill that opposing offenses throw against us, we never seem to have an answer for it. We always give those points up. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it was, this time it was Chuck Pagano's new defensive calling. Perhaps he was too aggressive. In passing situations, I seem to notice a lot of overload blitzes, be it left or right side, and that's leaving some very unproven cornerbacks having to play man coverage, and it seems like we're getting burned more times than not. So perhaps it needs to just reevaluate his game plan a little bit when it comes to the third and long scenarios. Yes, rushing 3 got us nowhere in the past, but perhaps you only send 1 or 2 more in on a blitz, or just trying to get after the quarterback and leave the rest in coverage, as opposed to just those stale 3-man drops that Greg Madison ran last year, which led us to a team low in sacks. Offensive line, like I said, it played horribly, but once again, it's a patchwork line. This Thursday against Atlanta, I really expect to see the first team offensive line actually get some time together to try gel as a unit, because if they don't, Joe is going to have a hell of a time trying to find openings against the Pittsburgh secondary, because granted, they are susceptible to the deep ball, but unless you have time, especially against that amazing pass rush that the Steelers bring in their front seven, he's going to have no shot whatsoever to find Lee Evans on those fade routes or find Ed Dixon in the middle of the field, because a linebacker or a defensive front is going to be right in his face. So hopefully, granted it is a risk for injury, they're going to throw our front 5 out there, and we're going to be able to see what McKinney, Grubbs, Burke, Yonda, and Orr can finally do. against the Falcons' second and third stringers in week 4 of the preseason. Outside of that, though, I think, a couple personal opinions. Ricky Williams, I know he hasn't had many chances so far this preseason, but he's running slow. I don't know if it's just it's a different team. Maybe it's a different scheme from what he was running in Miami, but just something seems off about his game. I know what he's done in the past. He's been an absolute monster backing up Ronnie Brown, but something just doesn't seem off on his game. I'm not quite sure what it is. Maybe it is the fact the offensive line is so patchwork and atrocious, but hopefully that will, once they all get to playing and gelling as one solid unit, that should fix what ails him. And once again, just like I told you all, Laquan Williams, I told you he was going to make a big play in the fourth quarter. I didn't know if it was going to be a passing game with Tyrod Taylor, which it wasn't, because all we saw was David Reed, Justin Harper, and Brandon Jones, who caught the game winner, by the way. But that 38-yard punt return with a minute and some spare change remaining, that changed the tide of the game. I'm sorry, I don't know what it is about this kid, but he looks the part, he plays the part. And if he is making the leaps and bounds like we think he is on special teams, the kid will make this 53-man roster. He's playing heads and tails above everybody else on that receiving corps, minus David Reed and Lee Evans. And it's like he's been doing this for years. It's amazing to finally see, once again, why the Ravens are one of the better drafting teams in the NFL. They know how to evaluate talent the right way. And most of the stars that have gone on to bigger and better things in the NFL, they got that first start here in Baltimore. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Bart Scott. We should get some of that paycheck, because without the Ravens, you're probably bagging groceries somewhere. I hate to sound like a bitter guy because I wish he was still on our football team, but that's another story. So anyway, guys, I know it was a few days in between, but that's what I got to say about the Ravens-Redskins game. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple more posts in regards to fantasy football running backs and wide receivers. And until then, if you don't see me, let's go ahead and plan on meeting Thursday for the Atlanta and Ravens preseason finale in week 4 this coming week. Until then, glad y'all are safe. Have a pleasant night.